How are we doing, everyone? Welcome to the NASCAR Truck Series Season Preview Show. I am your host, TK Nation 47, joined with Mega Roller 31. This is not a specific truck race breakdown. It is the season-long breakdown. I know we've already had the Daytona race, but Mega and I decided that we wanted to give you guys some preview shows for any changes that will happen over the offseason, because there was a ton of them in all series through the trucks, Xfinity, and NASCAR series. So we're going to break it down kind of like what we expect from these new teams, from drivers that are on new teams, and kind of, what to expect from a schedule and team standpoint. Mega, take it away. This is kind of your baby, your child here. You've come up with this, and I want you to further explain a little bit better than I am.
Yeah, and I think most of you out there, if you're familiar with NASCAR, like everybody knows Cup and pretty much familiar with the drivers and the moves and everything. So for Cup, I did a great breakdown. We're going to look at the new car and the differences between the Gen 6 car and the next generation car. So that should be exciting. But for Xfinity and truck, like there's a lot of moving pieces each year. It's almost like the minor league systems, and people move up and around. So just want to do a quick breakdown of like who the teams are and like some of the drivers, and just something that you can maybe take some notes from, or like look back and reference at different points of the year. It's something if you're watching Cup and then you decide, hey, you know what, I'm doing well there in DFS, I want to branch out into like Xfinity or into truck. This is something that people could watch in July as well as in March, where we are right now, to learn about. So pretty much the key here is up on top. It will move as I move the screen, but you have full-time drivers, people that are there. They have charters. I think there's like 31 of them or so. Don't quote me on that, but they're the ones that are there each week, and they're the ones that have a really good chance, if they don't qualify in time, to still be able to make it in owners points. Then you have your part-time drivers. It's really hard for some of these teams. They want to field a full-time truck, and the truck might run every week, but they might rotate people in and out. It's a great chance for Xfinity guys to come down, Cup guys to come down, refine their skills, get a few extra laps on some of these tracks, and ARCA guys, which is the and girls, which is the series below, to kind of come up and maybe from some other Formula One, G, other racing, to come and hop in these trucks just to get some NASCAR experience. So it's a great series, and so let's get to it. So first is David Gillian Racing. They're a decent team. It's their second year. They're fielding 3 trucks. So you have Haley Deegan. It's going to be her second year. I think she had a pretty solid rookie season. She learned a lot. And Tanner Gray is a guy that we love to play if he starts 20th or below. He's a really good value play usually that could potentially maybe get up and steal a top 10 here and there.
He just recently raced pretty well at the Daytona race before he got clipped. But Haley Deegan is someone that, overall from the NASCAR community, whether it be, on Twitter or on, Sirius, a lot of people have high expectations for her. A lot of it, one of the popular drivers in the series, and pretty good too. If she can remain consistent and finish out some of these races, she kind of just pedaled around last year, but yeah, she's got some upside in her driving. Really dominated ARCA when she was down there.
Yeah, and they've had plans for her to move up to Xfinity, I believe, next year or in 24. So I think it's the time is now, and she did look good at Daytona. She didn't wreck out towards the end, and I don't believe it was her fault. So they have a third truck here, the 17. Riley Herbst, who is Xfinity driver, came down, ran in Daytona. Taylor Graves, Tanner's brother, will hop in, and Ryan Preece. And Ryan Preece actually did pretty well last year when he jumped into some of this trucks. So I think this is a decent, smaller team. And if they qualify somewhere 20 or below, I think that they're a good team to be able to move up 5, maybe 10 place differential points. The next team is a new team. Tim Veens has been a NASCAR veteran for years. He's never really had his own team or anything, but he's had struggle qualifying. So he said, you know what, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start my own team. So then if I ever want to run a race, I can hop in and I don't have to worry about like trying to find a sponsor, a truck, financing, all that stuff. So Matt Jasko dropped down. I believe he was in Xfinity last year. He'll run full time here. And then they're going to field a second truck, and Brandon Poole's going to jump in. Johnny Sauter will run 13 races here potentially, but he might have another ride also that's more secure. We'll get to that a little bit. Roger Reyes will fill in every so often. He's like I believe he's an older dude and like a teamer owner. Also,
he's kind of just like that wily vet.
Yeah,
yeah.
Like you'll see like a lot of like the truck is like for young guns, so it's also kind of like a senior league too for like some guys that want to come back and like just get some run. So they didn't look at, I thought this team would do well. They didn't look good at Daytona, but it was only one race. It was a plate race. But they bought these trucks from Kyle Busch. They're old KBM trucks. They're not junk. So they should be decent. So we'll just have to keep our eye on them. So next up, we have GMS. And I feel that GMS is kind of like a second tier team. Your elite team is going to be Kyle Busch Motorsports here, definitely, and probably Thor. Would you say, TK? Those are the top two.
I was going to say Thor, and then I know there isn't. No, I'm thinking of Xfinity. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're thinking Gibbs, but the Gibbs ones are pretty much like Kyle Busch, because that's
just Kyle Busch. Yeah.
So GMS is kind of a light version of them. They stopped their Xfinity team. They went all in on truck, and they did really well, I believe, in 2020 when they did that. But then 2021 came, they started losing sponsorship. Without sponsorship and without money, these trucks really started to decline. So now they've contracted. They're down to 2 trucks. They've actually moved up to Cup, and they partnered with Kyle Petty, who also has some relationship with Richard Childress with their Chevys. And it seems like those Cup cars
are fast.
Races have been decent. So let's see what happens here. So you have Grant Enfinger, and I think I'm going to like him this year because he was in a ride share last year with Christian Eckes, was it? For Motorsport. And then when he wasn't running here, he was running in the Cody Robo like 04 or something like that.
I thought it was that or Roper, one of the two.
Roper, sorry. And he got a lot out of that truck. So I think in this decent equipment here, he should be okay. Jack Wood,
younger driver.
This is going to be his rookie year. He was limited last year. He really wasn't that good. I don't know how he got into.
A lot remains to be seen here.
With jury's out on him. I wouldn't start playing him until like mid-season. So gone is Sheldon Creed. So the 2 truck is shut down. He went to Xfinity. Tyler Ankrum went to Hattori. So that truck shut down. And then Zane Smith, the 21, he went to Front Row, and he took over for Todd Gillian, who moved up to Cup. So, those 3 trucks in red are done. So 2 truck team, really like Enfinger. Jury's still out on Wood. Hattori,
I think they probably put a lot of resources into the 23 car, and they're just bringing Wood along to be someone for the future to see what they have with them. So I think most of the resources for GMS in the truck series is probably into that 23 because they know it's their best chance.
Wood was okay at ARCA, but still, it just, again, limited sample size. Let's see what happens here. He just looked like he was out of his element. So Hattori is a really, really good team. They used to run an Xfinity team, but I'm not sure when we get to that preview. I'm not sure that they're running the Xfinity team this year. So they added a second. They added a second truck this year. Well, when you get to these previews, you gotta say never, because when I started preparing, Penske wasn't going to run the 2 car at all in Xfinity. Now that Cindric moved up, and now all of a sudden rumors that potentially they might be there for some race. So you can never say never when it comes to if they have the equipment, if they've had the teams, they could potentially show up for a race. Usually like plate races or like a specific road course or something. But anyways, Hattori is a really good program. The 16 was Austin Hill, correct?
Yeah.
He won the title 2 years ago. He had a really good season last year. Now he's moved up to Xfinity to drive for Richard Childress. He and Sheldon Creed are teammates up there. So they added a second truck here, and it's Chase Purdy. Second year in truck racing. He wasn't consistent. Like he'd either be top 10 or like 20 to 30. There was like no in between for him. He was in the number 23 truck at GMS last year. So both these drivers came from GMS. Ankrum, I think, he had some good success, and I think this truck
is a good driver.
Very competitive. He's a good driver, so I look for good things out of Ankrum. Purdy, I think he's going to be a GPP play all year. Right situations, he might do really well for you, but you just have to see if he can stabilize himself a little bit better before he's a consistent play.
I would say Purdy and Wood are pretty similar in the way that we're attacking their season. As far as race to race goes, it's going to come down to qualifying, practice times if we have them, driver track fit. It's hard to really pinpoint what Purdy and Wood are good at right now because of how young they are and how much we don't know about how they drive. So, like,
what we do know is the trucks are good.
Yeah.
Some of these trucks are not very good. So, and we'll
right. Yeah.
Hill Motorsports, they're actually expanding. Like Timmy Hill ran and Tyler Hill ran like in the same truck last year. They'd like switch on and off. But this year, Tyler Hill is going to run part-time in a second truck for the team, and Timmy Hill is going to be full-time in this one. I believe Timmy Hill is also looking at Xfinity, but he just recently lost his ride to Joe Graff Jr., who might have made a bigger financial contribution to the team to be able to get that, but we'll get to the Xfinity one. But I'm sure Timmy Hill will run some Xfinity races. You see him pop up in Cup every so often too. But
had some speed at Daytona. Qualified pretty well. I think that's usually a good indicator of how a truck or Xfinity car or Cup car, how the team is progressing, is how well they do in practice and how well they do in qualifying. Anyone can wreck out early, but it looked like the Hill Motorsports 56 had some speed. Yeah.
And I think that these guys are usually priced sub 6K, and Timmy is definitely one to look at, and Tyler in certain situations can be very valuable punts.
Sure.
Kyle Busch Motorsports is probably the class of the truck series with Thor Sports. I think I'd probably rank him as number one in success. Kyle Busch, when he's in the race, you usually want to play him. He's $15,000 for Vegas this week. So sometimes it's some very, very high prices, and depending on when you watch this, you'll know what happened. But sometimes it forces you to make a decision. Do you play him because a lot of people are going to play him, and he could go out and completely dominate a race, probably lead 75% of the laps, and you just have to play him? Or can you find enough? But Corey Heim, not the 80s actor, is going to fill in. He was the ARCA runner-up last year. So I think the jury's still out on him also. It's kind of sucks that he doesn't get a full rookie year, but I mean, he's in probably one of the best trucks here. So let's see what he can do with it, because I forget who was in the 51 last year, but that just
a mixture of things. It was like Truex, Busch.
Yeah. Was it Drew Dollar?
Drew Dollar. That's it.
Yeah. And he moved up to Xfinity, but he wasn't like anything special. So hopefully Corey Haim does something better. John Hunter Nemechek, he was in Cup in 20.
The man.
Yeah, and he struggled. His father's a legend in NASCAR for longevity, not for winning like a
front row Joe.
Yeah, but he had a solid career. And he'll still pop up from time to time, but John Hunter just wasn't ready to be up in NASCAR. He was okay, but just not super competitive. Dropped back down last year. He had a great season. This is a great truck. It has one of the best crew chiefs in the truck series. Yeah. So they had some bad luck at the end. It derailed their championship hope, but they were pretty dominant. Any races that didn't have Kyle Busch, even beat Kyle Busch a couple out conspiracy theories said, he was racing for points in championships, so they wanted him to get more like points and stage points and things like that. So
yeah,
we don't know what the truth is, but I mean, anyways, God Hunter Nemechek is usually expensive, but he could be a dominator. He can go out there and lead a lot of laps. Chandler Smith rounds out this one. He made the round of 8 in his rookie year. He won Bristol and Phoenix, so he's a decent driver, I think, in the right situations.
Yep.
He's playable, but his truck is going to be solid. So, and definitely somebody who can probably play.
He's really good on short tracks. I really like him on the shorter tracks. And the 18 truck is fantastic. So
now we move to the Mcnilly Hillman Racing. They go to a 2-truck team this year. They're switching from Chevy, from Toyota, and they're going to work out of the GMS shop and have alliance with them. So maybe that's going to help.
Oh.
These trucks are okay. I would say probably they're like 3rd tier. They're not like deplorable, but they're not the same. They don't have the same amount of money and resources. When Derek Kraus was a very good KNS series driver, he showed a lot of promise last year, but I don't think they have the money to put into the program in a truck that they did in KNS to be successful. So we'll have to see what happened. He really finished his season strong last year, so hopefully he carries that momentum on. And Colby Howard's been around. He'll drive for the second team on a 3rd tier team anyways is kind of concerning. But Colby Howard, like, we saw him up in Xfinity. I think we saw him filling in Cup in one of some of the minor cars every so often. Don't quote me on that, but he's one he's a decent driver too. So he's one that I probably would consider. Let's just hope with these two guys, like, the equipment can keep up with their talent.
Yeah. What I know about Colby Howard was, I believe he raced the 15 last year in the Xfinity series.
Okay.
And Derek Kraus, the 19 car truck's been a pretty decent truck so far in the short 2 years that we've been running these truck series. So I always look for Kraus's name and see where he's qualifying.
So next comes Nimco Motorsports. This is probably the worst truck team out there and really has no plans to run for 2022. But it wouldn't surprise me if Cam Murphy or Joe Nemechek or this truck shows up. This is one of the ones where they benefited from like COVID, where people didn't have to qualify, and if they could just show up at a track and just get a position, they'd be ready to race and collect a check. But one thing that you see in the truck series more so, but a little bit in Xfinity, is people that we call the start and parkers, where they'll start a race, and if they don't have any sponsorship or anything, then they're just going to park the car and save their tires and the resources, collect a check, and then one of these tracks they'll get enough money and they might go big finally and try to make 25th.
Yeah, I don't see these cars these trucks on the track this year. So, but hey, like I said, never say never.
Right. So Nice Motorsports is next. They're probably a 3rd tier team. A little bit of a fall off in the 20 season, but 21 season they look decent and they seem to be okay this year. So they have quantity, but not always the quality. It seems like you look and like they have Nice prominently on their tailgate, and it seems like there's like 30 of them racing out there, but it's like smoke and mirrors. Natalie Decker, she's usually a fade. She'll try to qualify for a couple of races. She didn't even make Daytona, I believe.
She's always had personal health issues.
Yeah.
And that's why they only do select races for that. She can only withstand such a few amount of races.
Yeah.
I don't know really where it's taking her career as far as I've seen on social media and things like that. But yeah, as of now, she's just every so once in a while qualifier, and that's it.
Yeah. And she's okay. I know people call her Natalie Decker, but she's more one to like fall off the pace and finish like 5 or 6 laps down more than anything. Dean Thompson, it's his official rookie year. Jury's still out on there, so we'll just have to watch and see how he does. Carson Josefar had a really good rookie year last year. Was he one of your favorites?
One of my favorites. Yep.
Yeah, he made
I played him in GPPs all the time.
Right. He made the top 8, and he's one there's like, oh man, Carson Josefar starting 10th. There is no way I can't play him, but he might finish like 10th to 12th. Like he was able to kind of like hold it where he had to be. So I think, this is building upon this.
Yeah.
He could be really good this year. Chris Wright, his second year in trucks, he could be decent. And Lawless Allen ran some as a rookie. Again, I think the young team here, like really, really young
It
team.
is.
And I think, Carson Josefar head and shoulders the best one here. We'll have to watch Dean Thompson, Chris Wright, and Lawless Allen. The advantage here is, even though that they're like young guys, and most of them had experience like in ARCA and like some other of the KNS and like some of the smaller series, is the trucks here would be better than maybe like a Mcnilly Hillman. Like, so like Mcnilly Hillman may have the talented drivers, but like the trucks in some of the more grueling like races, Nice might hold up better. So this is one of the things to consider.
They're better than this next team that we're going to talk about.
Rheum brothers. Rheum makes really good engines, so that's the thing. They entered in a tech. We'll talk about more about it, like Xfinity, I believe, but they picked up Thad Moffett, who I thought he was just running Daytona, but he's back in the Vegas one. He is the King, Richard Petty's grandson and Kyle's nephew. He ran ARCA last year, and if all goes well, we might see more of him. And then they have possibly 2 other trucks. They have the 33 where Jason White ran in Daytona, and then Chris Hacker is going to run 10 races here. I believe they had somebody in this truck, but they might be not racing.
34
this week. No, the 33. It's Loris Henselman. He's a European driver, so he's popping into a truck. So they're fielding that. The 34 is not in the field this week, but Josh Rheum might come in. He's another one that's going to finish like 5. Like he's like a team owner that hops in the truck every so often and ends up like 5 laps down, just like Joe Cobb. But
hits the garage halfway through.
Right, but if it's a track where people are going to be like overly aggressive and there's going to be like a lot of wrecks like early on, even if he hits the garage at like 25 laps or at the end of stage 1, he might have picked up 5 place differential points.
It's risky, but I get what you're saying. Yeah.
All right, so now probably the second best team, and Thor Sports Fords, really good at some tracks. Ty Majeski, I mean, he was a stud in many lower series. He had a solid year last year, and I think he's going to continue to be good in the 99. Ben Rhodes was the 2021 champ. He won first 2 races at Daytona, nothing after that. He just had a solid season. I just kind of worry that you might continue. He's getting a little bit older. You might continue to see some regression here.
Always take him on the super speedways.
Yes.
Always take Ben Rhodes on the super speedways. So Talladega when we get there. Yeah.
Right. Well, what's going to be a super speedway, and like this is the first time I've had to talk about it this year, and they're actually they don't have the restrictor plate package anymore, but the different ways they have to slow the cars down is Atlanta is going to be treated like Daytona and Talladega
because of the repave.
Yeah, with the repave, they're thinking that trucks are going to fly there, so that might be something to look at. It's not going to be the tire wear track it has been in the past. Gotcha. Christian Eckes, he doesn't have to share with Enfinger this year, so we'll see, if that helps him or not in this truck. Johnny Sauter, I believe he was in this truck last year, but I think he kind of lost his ride, but he might be back splitting time between this truck and the Glory to God team, running 13 races potentially in each. But I think if he does well in this Thor Sports truck, which was he in the 13 last year?
Yeah, I believe so. It's always been his ride, right?
Yeah. So I think they're contracting down to like the 4 teams and giving them a chance to still kind of like they gave Eckes a chance, like, and Enfinger last year to share a truck. I don't think he's sharing. I just don't think they'll run it sometimes, but we'll see what happens here. But I think if he has success, like they'd be stupid not to keep him, but
we'll see.
And then we have Matt Crafton. He didn't have any wins last year, but he made it to the Final 4, and he was like just consistent all season long. So
a truck staple, the Crafton 88.
Yeah. maybe a little bit regression there too with age, but I think he's pretty solid. Now we come to Young Motorsports. They run Chevy.
This upcoming team right here.
Yeah, they're a smaller team, but they do perform well. So you have Spencer Boyd. He's very good at super speedways. And he gets the top truck here with Fogerman moving on after like not a great season last year.
Just then not a good driver.
Right. And then you have the O2, which Kaz Growler is going to be running mostly road and short tracks in.
Yep, makes sense.
And he used to run a lot of Xfinity, so he's got some talent. So he can, and he's in the Vegas field, so he can do some. And then Jesse Little, like we used to love to play Jesse. There was Jesse Little or Chad Little. I think it was Jesse Little. Chad Little had the John Deere card 97 back in the day.
Yeah, I had that little Hot Wheel when I was a kid.
Yeah, but Jesse Little, we used to love to play him in because you'd always get 4,800 and he's always start in the 30s and you'd always get like 5 place differential points. He'd end up with like probably 15 DK points, but at the end of the day, it wasn't a 0. So, so we used to like him. Denny Bond ran the 20 truck in Daytona, but Matt Mills is coming down. Matt Mills is actually a really good driver from Xfinity. He's a regular for the BJ McLeod team, and if he could do some decent things in a BJ McLeod car, in a decent young truck here, he definitely has top 20 potential. I think. It says he's running 4 races in the trucks, but I think if he continues to have success, I think he might, and he's okay like splitting his time between Xfinity and truck. I think you might see more of him here also. And then they are adding a 4th truck for Tony Bridginger. She is an ARCA star, diva down there. She is looking to make her debut in the truck this year. So I think, she's going to be the next Haley Deegan.
Gotcha.
But I hear she's got some decent talent. But then again, with ARCA, you don't know, because you have some decent drivers and some really bad drivers down there. Because lowest.
The gap is wider between the talent.
And they don't run as many laps or as many races and stuff, but we'll see. So that's one to keep an eye on. So those were like the major teams. So now I just want to look at the Chevy miscellaneous trucks. Brett Moffett for AM Racing. He's a former GMS guy that dropped out of the truck to try to win an Xfinity. He's a decent driver if he fills in, but there's no plans for this year. So, but I wouldn't be surprised not to see him like race a couple races down here.
Self-owned team right here. Next up.
Yep, and Austin Ring Self is the same team also. He's always a great value if he starts below 20. He just gets in beef with too many people sometimes and gets wrecked or ends up wrecking people or goes back out on the track and tries to wreck people and completely whiffs. But we loved playing him, and
super speedway kind of driver and short track driver, and he's really great on dirt.
Yeah, definitely those things too, but just the way he's usually priced, and he is one that if he starts like 20 to 25,
he qualifies pretty well.
We can
a single team owner.
Usually lock him in. He usually holds his own there, and he's usually somebody that you can fill in for a value play. The 32 from Brett Holmes Racing. Brett Holmes is running at Daytona. Sam Mayer moved up to Xfinity. I don't believe there's any plans for him to run this year, so I don't think we see this truck. The 49 and 83 from CMI Motorsports, they shut down when NASCAR banned the Confederate flag. Then they came and said we're never racing again, and then they did come back in 21 with like Tim Veens, but Tim Veens currently has his own team now, Glory to God Racing. So I think it's doubtful that this team comes back.
They're probably not coming back. Right. If it's going to be anything, it's going to be Ray at a one-off event.
Yeah. There's some random track close to his hometown. Blaine Perkins is a rookie this year. He jumps into the CR7 Motorsports.
Roper, right? In this Roper's team?
Yeah.
CR7?
Yeah, and he ran 8 Xfinity races last year, so he's gotten some experience. Also from the same team, just for Daytona, they fielded for this Jason Klitzmeyer. I don't even know if he qualified
No, I
for
don't
it.
think he did.
Yeah.
Oh no, CR7 isn't Roper.
No.
I see him down there. My bad. I don't think. I think Perkins is.
I'm thinking it isn't.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like the soccer players here. Some. I
Yeah,
don't think it has
totally
anything to do with him, but I don't know. Maybe.
totally got me.
Dawson Cram, Cram Racing. No
Cram
plans for 2022, but I can't believe that we won't see him from time to time
I'm sure
pop
we'll
up
see
someplace
him
in the
sometime.
truck.
Yeah.
Brian Dagsnall usually just runs Daytona in this FNY racing truck. Usually
Now, is that the New York racing team that had the ride at the Daytona 500 with Greg Biffle?
no, that's
That's
a
the same
that's a
team?
completely different team, I believe.
Gotcha.
Um,
Okay. Just curious.
So now we have Stuart Friesen, and
Yeah.
this is
Omar
actually
Friesen.
this is actually a 2-truck team, but I kind of have them like they're such a small thing, and they don't really. They're probably not running the second truck that often, even though like Todd Bodine seems to have picked it up this week. But Stuart Friesen is a great dirt track racer, legendary dirt track racer, and his wife Jessica is pretty good too.
Just as good. Yep.
And he wrecked a lot last year, but 7 top 5s made the playoff round of 8. I think he definitely is one to look at in certain situations for certain
short tracks for sure.
Yeah. And like Todd Bodine, I don't know, like he drove he couldn't even keep up, but that might have been the car, and there might have been some tech problems in the Daytona 500 in the Cup. I believe he was.
Yeah.
And then so we'll see what happens at trial. Like the dude's like a legend. He drew, but it's like Ron Hornaday Jr. coming back or something.
Yeah,
just past.
This guy's got to be 60.
Yeah, past his prime, but we'll see. Parker Klingerman,
Henderson.
Yeah, Henderson Motorsports. He ran a handful of races. He was one that we loved last year because he came back out late in the season and he had no points or whatever. So he'd always finish like almost dead last. And he was such a talented driver, and it was a decent truck. He would cut through the field like a hot knife through butter and just get up there. So
the problem is DraftKings never prices them to that mantra. They always price him super high because he's a really good truck driver.
Yeah, and he did decent at Daytona too. Trey Hutchins doesn't run much. There's no plans for this year. Joe Cobb. Yeah, she's not one that we're going to play, but never tries to win the race, but we'll take care of the truck and finish. She could be a good cash play when she qualifies low, but it all depends on if she even can qualify sometimes with this truck.
Yeah.
So we'll see her every so often. Jordan Anderson driving his own truck. We might see other guys pop in here, but he mostly drives the truck and truck. He's got somebody for permanently driving his car in Xfinity this year.
Yeah.
So I think that might lead to better results, because the problem is like I work in a grocery store, okay, and manage a grocery store, but the effect of me managing a grocery store, if I'm like running register all day or slicing deli meat all day, like you lose track of like everything else that's going on in the store. So I think that's kind of with Jordan Anderson, where he's trying to, manage like everything for a team. It probably like it's a smaller team too, so probably has to do like all the booking and promotions and like all the like signings and things too, plus like supervise the garage and things, and it's probably just too much. So that's could be potentially why they struggle every so often there. But and we've always said Jordan Anderson equipment is outstanding as long as Jordan Anderson is driving it. But
exactly.
Norm Betting, he is like the Shriner clown in the parade. Like he just cruises around Sunday drive, usually gets black flag for not going fast enough. Todd Pack may run Daytona, but really not someone we'd probably look at for. Now we have the Rackley War truck. I think it's second or third year that they've been here, and this truck was decent. Maybe their first year team last year. They had some tech issues every so often. Matt DiBenedetto came down after losing his cup ride, and I've said he's a good racer. I think he could possibly challenge John Hunter Nemechek for the title. This is a very deep field that we have this year in trucks. We lost a lot, but I think we gained a lot too. So I don't see how he cannot be successful here unless the equipment fails him. And Daytona wasn't great So we'll just have to kind
Excellent
of see.
short track driver.
Right.
So,
Corey Roper, like you said, his stats look good in practice and qualifying in 2019, but he only finished like 2/3 of the races he ran. We just have to see like if he runs this truck or if somebody jumps in. We had Roper and who was it, Roblox? Who was the other R guy that
Robar or something?
Yeah. Like they were like standard punts like in 2020 truck DFS every single week. And then we have Austin Hill. Spire put together a truck for him to run at Daytona. Might see him at like Talladega and a couple other races this year, but I think he's really trying to focus on what he can do in Xfinity. He won the first race at Daytona there, so and he didn't do. I can't remember if he was in the Wreck Fest at California or not, but. But if you see him, like he's one that to look for. So Ford has one miscellaneous team. It's Front Row Motorsports, and this is a solid team. This team has a decent cup program with John Hunter Nemechek and McDowell in the past. Todd Gillian moved up to it this year. He had playoff success in this truck last year. So Smith left the GMS dumpster fire after last year. And actually not doing bad there. He finished second in 2021. Overall, had a win at Martinsville. And this team also partners with GGR Ford for tech.
Front row, very good team. Zane Smith, very good driver. Like this team for a potential dominator throughout the year.
So some last miscellaneous Toyota guys we have, Corbin Forester. You might see his name every so often, but no plans for 2022. Clay Greenfield, cool racing tech. Yeah, no, exactly. Like I doubt he even qualifies. He's only runs Daytona. So Tate Fogerman has
he'll be on super speedway qualifying, but other than that, it's going to be a struggle for him.
Right. He moves to On Point Motorsports. So he moves from young racing. He lucked back to win at Talladega last year due to wrecks.
He did.
And this truck rotated drivers last year. And if he struggles, I wouldn't be surprised to see like Brendan Poole or Danny Bond if he doesn't find a spot with Young's, who he's running for Daytona, like behind the wheel. So this truck is in green because it's going to be run every single week, but right now the plan is for Tate Fogelman to run every race, but maybe if you're watching this in July, the change has already happened. So and then Spencer Davis, I'm not sure if he returns either. He's one that pops up from here and there. Decent guy, like a little better than like Roper or Forrester or Todd Peck or Trey Hutchins. So he's probably going to start anywhere down from like 30th to 36th and might be able to move up like 5 spots or so.
Used to be a decent team, but it's just over time lost its funding and it's lost its magic in that 11 car.
Okay, well, I think that kind of wraps it up. So hopefully that helps you know some of these drivers.
So that like you said, wraps it up. Kind of a team by team breakdown, some miscellaneous trucks in there as well. Guys, this was the truck preview show. Please like this video, comment below with any questions you might have for the season, and hopefully this was good information for you to help you understand what we're looking at when it comes to week to week previews, and this is just kind of maybe kill some time, throw it on while you're in the about to hit the road or something, or you're about to work out. It's a good way to getting to know these drivers, getting to know what they're good at, and potentially where they stand come season end. All right, Mega, thank you for the quick breakdown here, and we're gonna find our way over to some Xfinity sheet here and talk a little. We'll get to the next video, and you guys will find that on our YouTube channel, Fantasy Sports Insight. You can find the season previews for all of the series coming up. So thank you again and enjoy your season.